Hello guys, I'm Reval and welcome back to Anybody Can Code Python series. In today's episode, we'll be discussing about recursion in Python. So, what is recursion? Basically, it is one way of solving a problem. So, a function that calls itself until a given condition is satisfied is called a recursive function. Recursion can be considered as an alternative for iterative loops. It's something that refers or recurs itself. So, one good example of how recursion can be best understood is through a factorial program. So, the basic functioning of a factorial is like this for a given number n, where n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 and it goes on till 1. So, now let's try to implement this using recursion. So, firstly, let's get a number from the user. N is equal to int of input of enter a number to find its factorial. So, here suppose if the user enters a number 5, then its factorial must be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So, now let's implement this using a function. Def fact and then pass n as the parameter. So, basically the factorial of 0 and 1 are both 1 itself. So, let's implement it using a if condition. If n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, then return 1. So, for the remaining numbers, let's introduce an else block and find its factorial. So, n into fact of n minus 1. So, here this is called as the recursive function which tries to call itself to multiply n with n minus 1. And finally, let's invoke this function print fact of n. Now, let's run this, enter a number to find its factorial. Let me give 5. So, we got 120 which is the factorial of 5. So, how this actually works is return n into fact of n minus 1 can be evaluated this way. Since n is 5 into fact of n minus 1, that is 5 minus 1 which is equal to 4. And then fact of 4 is nothing but 4 into fact of 3. And again fact of 3 is nothing but 3 into fact of 2. And then fact of 2 is nothing but 2 into fact of 1. So, here fact of 1 will return 1. So, it's equal to 1 and then 2 into fact of 1 and then 2 into fact of 1 which is nothing but 2 into 1 is equal to, well, so this will become 2, and then here 3 into fact of 2, which is nothing but 2. Three into 2 is 6, and then 4 into fact of 3, which is nothing but 6. 4 into 6 is nothing but 24. 5 into fact of 4, which is 24. This will become 120. So that's how recursion works in Python. Basically, recursion makes the code look clean and elegant, but one disadvantage is that it occupies quite a lot of memory. And guys, there's also another way in which a function can be created in Python. You can even say it to be a special type of function called as Lambda Functions, which is typically used for creating small one-time anonymous functions. An anonymous function is nothing but a function without a name. So what do you think is the use of anonymous functions? That is Lambda Functions. So here, if you look at this code, it is nothing but a simple if-else condition. This if-else condition can also be written in just a single line using Lambda Functions. But before that, let's learn how to implement Lambda Functions. So this is the basic syntax of a lambda function, which must be defined with the keyword lambda. Basically, a lambda function can have any number of arguments but can have only one expression. Now, let's implement this normal function using a lambda function. So, let's implement this if-else condition using lambda functions. So, lambda, so here the argument will be n colon, and now let's frame the expression. So, it must written 1 if n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, else n into fact of n minus 1. So here you get to notice three main things. First is we have not defined a function or used a function name. And second is we have not used the return keyword. And third is naturally it reduced the size of the code that normal functions would consume. Since these are nameless functions, you can mostly use it when you want to use a specific functions just only once. So now let's complete this code. Fact is equal to, and then let's call this function print fact of, let's give 6. Now let's run this. So the factorial of 6 would be 720. So that's how you can use lambda functions to create simple functions in just only one line. And also you can even pass lambda functions as arguments to higher order functions since lambda functions are lighter. So that's all for today. Stay tuned and see you all in the next.
Hey YouTube, how are you doing? Stay tuned to Facebook for more awesome videos. Don't forget to subscribe.